All right, seniors, we will prepare ourselves as everyone is making the transition over. Welcome community members. We're going to take just a few minutes to allow time for everyone to transfer over. Thank you so much for your flexibility. We know that Hawthorne Valley is full of people who are adaptable, who are creative, who are ready to meet any moment as it comes at them. And so we appreciate you being adaptable with us and coming onto this new webpage. We'll give just a little bit of time for everyone to make the transfer over. And when we see that there's about the same number of people, we'll get started with our presentation.
Hey T, can you post the link again because it got lost and
Yeah.
my mom's having trouble finding it.
All right, we hopefully now are starting to move to this new web page. Thank you all who have already made the switch. We'll be getting started in just a moment.
JT, is the link in the comments?
I just added it, but I'm still not seeing it up here.
All right, thank you for those of you who have moved over already. We're just sort of dealing with some technical difficulties and we'll be starting as soon as we can. All right. Oh, great. So what I see now is more and more people are coming over to this new link. Thank you so much for those of you who have already made the jump over. It's about half of you who were originally looking at the senior project presentation. So we're just going to wait for a few more to jump over to this new link before we get started. And again, thank you so much for your flexibility here, adapting with us as we navigate the challenges of presenting our senior project presentations through an online format, something that Hawthorne Valley has never done before. So you are here along with us along for the ride as we all take this journey together. I see now more and more of you joining in. This is so exciting. And I imagine that you are all watching from different places, maybe even around the country, which is sort of exciting. We have a chat bar, which you're welcome to comment in. We love seeing your comments. Hey, Karana, we have an alumni in there. We have some community members posting, which is really fantastic. So shout us out, say hello in the comments. Wish your seniors good luck. Say hello to your community members. And let us know where you're streaming from. We'd love to hear about that. All right, seniors, if you're ready, community members, if you're ready, without further ado, we will get started. So we imagine that even as we begin, some of you will be entering still to our live stream of this year's senior project presentations. I am streaming my video from Albany, New York, where I live, just 40 minutes northwest of Ghent, New York, where Hawthorne Valley is located. It is a beautiful day. I got to spend some time outside, and it's something I'm grateful for, to enjoy in that good weather. And I think we all look for those moments now, with everything going on, to slow down and appreciate what has been all around us to begin with. We also will be slowing down a little bit to take some time and appreciate the very good work that our group of seniors, the class of 2020, have put, not just recently, but for their whole senior year, the very good work that they've put into their senior projects. So I want to introduce the class of 2020, and maybe we can all give a little wave to the community. Say hello, class of 2020. This is a group of 19 enthusiastic seniors who have been really at the heart of our high school for quite a bit of time. They're a rambunctious bunch. They are noisy. If you pass their classroom, you can certainly hear them from afar. But it's that energy and enthusiasm that makes them so fun to work with. So seniors, I'll invite you now to turn off your videos. Thank you very much. And I want to tell you a little bit about what we are doing here, what we are doing tonight in this very unique, first of its kind, Hawthorne Valley Senior Project Presentation live stream. I'll remind you also, we do have a chat function below. Maybe it's here, maybe it's here. Where you can put in your comments. Let us know where you're coming from. Let us know who you're watching with. We can see the number of computers that are logged onto the site, but we don't know how many people exactly are watching because we can't see you through your screens as you can see us. The senior project is a rite of passage for graduates at Hawthorne Valley. It is a year-long independent project that the student chooses on their own. Now, it's important to talk about the independent aspect of this project. Students do not typically have time within the school day, besides a consultation here or there, to work on these projects. This is time that they're putting into the project on nights and weekends, on vacations. They are self-directed and they are self-motivated, which is such a unique aspect of the learning at Hawthorne Valley. This opportunity to create something out of one's own interests and out of one's own initiative. Now, we did not expect at the beginning of the year, when the seniors were choosing these projects, I don't think anyone envisioned this moment. We all thought we would be gathered together with family, with community members, fellow students and teachers. We thought we'd be gathered together in our school's hall and speaking to you with some of the items that they created, some of the photos, their journals on display for you to see, for you to feel, for you to look through. We could not have imagined that we would be here presenting to you through YouTube, via Zoom, right? Using so many online platforms to engage. And yet the stay-at-home order, which has transformed all of our lives in different ways, while it has presented many challenges and comes sort of in the midst of some great tragedies, it also has, in a way, challenged us to find blessings, to slow down, to really appreciate what we have, who we can rely on, who we are, and what we can do with the time that we find. And so to that end, I want to say a special thank you to the parents who have supported these students through this process in recent months, more so than ever. I want to say thank you to the teachers, to my colleagues, both at Hawthorne Valley and across the United States, across the world, to the teachers who have adapted and found different ways of engaging, even when technology perhaps might not have been their strong suit. I want to say thank you in particular to the community members who have supported Hawthorne Valley for many years, but in particular to those of you who continue to support Hawthorne Valley by showing up, even if showing up means logging on, even if showing up means logging on to a website and then following that to another website. We appreciate so much that you have shown up to support these fantastic students, the class of 2020. When I think about Hawthorne Valley and what makes it so unique, it is a place that feels like home. And I remember in particular, Mrs. Christensen, who has taught at this school for several decades, our chemistry teacher, also an incredible fiber artist. I remember there was a time where I was out sick and I came back, so I hadn't seen her for a few days. And she said to me in passing, James, welcome home. It was an off-the-cuff remark, but it reminded me that Hawthorne Valley is home to so many people, not just those who go through its halls as students or teachers or parents, but those across the country who consider themselves alumni, those across the country who are grandparents, who are aunts and uncles, cousins, who are friends, who have come to a festival, who have come to any number of different events that we have thrown here. This is home to so many of us. And now that we find ourselves in our own homes for such an extended period of time, we can really appreciate with a new perspective what Hawthorne Valley means. It's a home away from home, but it's not just that we have to be there physically. We can also think of it fondly in our hearts and feel that sense of home, even as we engage using online platforms now. So I encourage you, because we cannot approach them afterwards, to reach out to these seniors, to reach out to these community members and congratulate them on the very great work that they have done with their senior projects and what you're about to see with their presentations. I want to give you a quick rundown of how this will work. First, when the students are presenting, I will encourage you to post questions into the chat, questions that we can ask the students for a question and answer portion. Right now, I'm speaking to you, but there is a 20-second delay. So it's important that you submit your questions early in the presentation. I will facilitate and ask the questions on your behalf. Also, because this is a live event streaming on the internet, there is the possibility, not even the possibility, there is the eventuality of something going wrong, right? Maybe there'll be a delay in a picture coming up. Maybe we'll have a technical difficulty. Maybe someone's video might go out of tune for a second. We thank you so much for your patience with us. We know that the past few months have really developed a strong sense of patience in us, and we are grateful that you'll be applying it here. And I hope that you're comfortable. You know, one of the great blessings about this stay-at-home experience is that one can be comfortable. And so I encourage you to curl up with a blanket, have your cup of tea ready. You might even, as I have, you might even choose to be in your best pajamas. We encourage you to be comfortable and to enjoy what you're about to see with these students' presentations. So without further ado, I will transition us into our first presentation, our student, Odin Esti.
All right, thank you. My name is Odin Esti. I come from a long line in my family of violin makers, violin players, guitarists, singers, and all other sorts of musicians. And since as long as I've been around music, I've always wanted to make something in that realm that is truly my own. And so, as my senior project, I decided to make this 8-course Renaissance lute. Now, when I first decided to do this, I looked for lute makers, professional lute makers in the area, and it just so happened that the only lute maker in this entire region happens to live 30 minutes away from my home. His name is Andrew Rutherford, and I met with him. we discussed my project, and for me to start, he gave me a form. The form is a piece of wood, a piece of wood that is the shape of the inside of the bowl, the air on the inside of the bowl. The first part of the lute, and by far the most time-consuming, and many say difficult, is to cut many different strips of wood, bend them over a heated iron on the form to the correct shape, and bevel them and shape them so that they will meet all of the others along the entirety of the edge. This was very difficult to get just right. And it took a long time, probably a few months for this, for me at least. Now, once all the strips are on here, the bowl, which is now a bowl, is removed from the form, which was a delicate process, and reinforced with strips of paper that line the seams on the inside. Having that done was pretty good. It's a major step. Next comes the neck. The neck is very straightforward. It's just a piece of wood that you drill onto the block, which is inside here. After that comes the belly. The belly is always spruce. It's always spruce on really any kind of instrument, not just lutes, which is mirrored, which means one piece cut in two, put together. And the belly, once it's put together, is thinned until it is 1 millimeter thick in the center and various thicknesses otherwise. Then the rosette is cut, which is this here. I made my own design inspired by other Renaissance designs, classics. And surprisingly, it didn't take all that long to cut, only a few days. Once that is done, the rest of the belly is reinforced with bars on the inside. After that, one makes the bridge, now pictured, which is also very straightforward. It's just a small piece of wood with ornaments on the ends with holes drilled in it for the strings. I put a reinforcer on the top, which is not in that picture, to prevent the strings from cutting into it. Then comes the fingerboard, which I got a piece of wood from David Fuller, who also gave me a piece of wood for the pegs. It's a very lovely piece of rosewood. It's glued onto the neck, and between the fingerboard and the belly are what are called points, which are a classic piece of decoration done in all Renaissance, well, most Renaissance lutes. It may look a bit hard to do, but it only takes a day, a few hours, made of the same wood as the fingerboard. Once that's done, one does the peg box, which I don't have a very good picture of, but you can see it here in my video, which is also very straightforward. It's just a place for all of the pegs. Now, an 8-course Renaissance lute has 15 strings, because a course on a lute is a pair of strings, all except for the top string. For the bottom 4, sometimes 5 courses, the strings are tuned in octaves. Now, turning the pegs was probably the lengthiest, aside from the bowl, and most difficult process. I got another piece of rosewood from David Fuller and cut out blanks, which I put onto a lathe, which I borrowed from Paul Ricks. Thank you, Paul. And it's very difficult to get all of the pegs to be the same size in the bulb. But once I'd done all of them, all 15, I went through the harrowing process of shaving the pegs down to the right bevel and right thickness to fit into the holes, which I reamed into the peg box. And once that was done, I could begin to call my lute finished. All I had to do was make a strap, put a button on the bottom, and string it. Now, the strings that are on it now are all but 2 made of gut, which is the classic string recipe from the Renaissance. When I went into this project, I decided that I would make it out of only materials that were available during the Renaissance to give it that bit of a historic accuracy feel. Now, I've almost completed that. There are 2 strings on this lute which are made of nylon, but I can live with that. Otherwise, it's fully natural materials. Right. Now, once I'd finished it, I began to play it. That was a very different experience. How I really began with that was just figuring out chords, just by trial and error. Now, lute tuning is rather interesting. It's similar to the guitars, but a bit different. It's G, D, A, F, C, G, F, D. And I had decided in the beginning of this project that I would make a little bit of music near the end of my whole experience. And I did. The way I did that was just trying different chords and putting them in different orders and remembering the orders that I liked best, and then adding a little bit of ornamentation. Very simple. I began playing first when I learned some chords, just my own things, and mostly a lot of John Dowland, who was the main English composer of the Renaissance and the favorite composer of Shakespeare's, interestingly enough. But enough of that. I will play you something now of my own composition. Very rudimentary, but music nonetheless. Right. That's it for me. For the others who helped me, I would like to acknowledge them. Mainly, of course, I would like to thank Andrew Rutherford, who guided me through every step of the process and lent me a very valuable book, which was also quite helpful, and gave me some very nice advice in very harrowing times. Next, David Fuller, who gave me some I consider them quite valuable pieces of rosewood, which adorn my lute in a very nice fashion. And lastly, Paul Ricks, who loaned me his lathe, which provided to be a very helpful tool. That's it for me. Back to you, James Thompson.
Thank you, Odin. And thank you, I'll say this on behalf of everyone watching, thank you so much for that presentation. Normally we'd hear applause now, but I know, Odin, that you will feel that applause even from afar. So I want to ask some questions. Thank you for submitting them in the chat. Both Gabe Snyder and Marla Toltz asked a similar question. How long did it take from start to finish to make your lute?
Right. Well, I would estimate about, really, I would say about a year, because I began the planning and whole ideological phase of this almost exactly a year ago. Besides that, the actual construction from the first cut to the last shaving and varnishing touches, probably 9 months, I would say. I began in the summer and finished a few weeks ago, really. So I would say that.
Great, thank you, Odin. We have Mr. Glatt streaming, Lawrence Joseph Glatt, one of our former teachers, our music teacher extraordinaire. He asked, do you, I've lost the question, Mr. Glatt. Oh, is there a historical lute your design is based on?
Well, this is a very kind of archetypal lute. It's extremely simple, but kind of yes. The form and a few other elements of the plan that Andy gave me are based on lutes by Heber and Venere. There are multiple Vendelio Veneres who made lutes in Italy, but this lute is based off of designs from them.
Great, thank you, Odin. We have some other really fantastic questions, but of course not enough time to answer all of them. Just a heads up that you'll be able to ask Odin some more questions. We'll be creating a website with some interactive features. So I want to say thank you so much, Odin, for your presentation, and congratulations. It is so beautiful to see that lute. And I don't know if you can look in the YouTube comments, but there are people from all across the country who are saying, congratulations, go Odin, well done, applause, applause. Even my own dad just texted me and said, this kid is cool. So well done, Odin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next student from the class of 2020, Marina Edson.
Thank you. When I was 5, I remember the first time I got stung by a bee. I was drinking something filled with sugar and suddenly I felt pain in my lower lip. As I spat, I saw the bee on the ground. I cried afterward, hurt and sad that I'd hurt a bee. However painful the experience was, it stuck with me to this day as I still have the scar to remind me of it. Hi, I'm Marina Edson, and I'm very happy to tell you about my senior project. Around that same time, I had set out to be an artist and created whatever passes as art when one is 5. Some of my favorite memories from my childhood are about my art classes in the park. Outside in nature, I found it peaceful to paint while bees buzzed around me, trying to get into our lemonade pitcher as I tossed my teacher's magic rocks onto my paper to paint around them. I was familiarizing myself with negative spaces. I actually believed that the rocks were magical. Every time I painted around them, I created an animal or something of the like. I found bees to be a nuisance back then when they seemed to be everywhere. They were just something to wave away when they got too close to my food. In the past year, I've realized what beautiful tiny creatures they are and noticed how few I come across. Activism came into my life as I grew up, leaving me with a sense of urgency, a feeling of wanting to help people and the earth in some way. It actually came to me in Oaxaca, Mexico, while I was taking printmaking classes. Oaxaca is known for its protests led by teachers who aren't being paid enough by the government. The artwork there was somewhat anarchist oriented. Expletives aimed at the police, along with empowering phrases to the people, were incorporated into the artwork around me, especially with woodcut prints and the graffiti on walls of government buildings. Thinking back to this, it was probably one of the greatest reasons I chose to do my project. I was looking back at old work of mine and decided to continue with block printing, using it to create my own kind of activism. Another reason that I chose to make prints was due to art classes in New York City that I'd taken a few months earlier that really cemented my love for art into me. So for my project, I chose to make block prints of bees and bind the finished prints into books. And here are a few ones that I did. This one's made into a book. And this one is my favorite print, but it's not made into a book. My bee prints are my way of raising awareness about the declination of bees in a way that I can. Printmaking is an art form that I have returned to and I love it. It's relaxing to carve into linoleum, thinking in negatives just like I started to do at age 5. Rolling ink onto the finished block print, then pressing paper onto it to create a print. It's easily my favorite art medium and it can be quite surprising. The end product is not always what you want it to be, but that's just life. I remember the first time I printed my poppies piece. It wasn't very impressive with the black water-based ink, but I changed to oil-based ink and ended up creating one of my favorite prints. With this medium, I'm able to deliver the message on issues like the bees through my art. I carved the flowers I love, poppies, sunflowers, and snapdragons, which are what bees pollinate, drawn to their alluring and vibrant colors. Rolling those colors onto my block prints was easily my favorite part of the project. Then I hung the prints on my wall, later folding and binding them as covers to books made out of paper bags. I must have cut thousands of paper bags to construct little books, which I mailed out with seed packets when I saw proof of donation to my chosen bee organization. The books were for thoughts and inspiration, whether it was poetry or drawing. I like the idea of them being useful to someone. My reasoning for this change due to the pandemic. What started as a project just to aim awareness and help people think about what they could do to help bees and climate change turned into me wanting everyone I give books to be happy. We can't really help anyone or the earth until we help ourselves. So I hope that the people who receive my books can use it as a sort of therapy during this time. I also made art into posters, which I put around my neighborhood in New York City. A way, I hope, of picking people's spirits up. Like the bee, we will survive together. We just need some help and some kindness. Even so, I could have done my project about anything, and believe me, I got inspired by a new project every other day. Some might ask why I chose a project about bees. The answer is quite simple. They sustain life. 90% of the Earth's plant species are pollinated by animals, bees being one of the biggest animal pollinators in our ecosystems, and they are in declination. All your favorite fruit is pollinated by bees. Don't you want them around? I do. Unfortunately, they may one day not be around. Companies and farms that spray pesticides and neonicotinoids onto their plants, killing the native pollinators that dare eat their genetically altered superplants. Cell phone towers interfere with bee dances. Every text sent in the air is a confusing piece of information to them. Bee dances are how they communicate. It's sort of euphoric shaking. Go watch Queen of the Sun on YouTube, you won't regret it. Anyways, without communication, they get lost and wander off to die alone. That kind of loops into my project since I emailed everyone who received a book and just checked in on them. Other main factors in bee declination are colony collapse disorder, which happens when bees get lost from their hive, leaving the queen to starve to death all alone with her eggs. Commercial beekeepers rent their bees out to almond farms like hired help, which is shown to cause the rapid decline in bees in conventional agriculture, as people mechanize a very delicate natural process by driving European honeybees around the country to California to pollinate the almond crops there. Recorded declination has shown 50 billion bee deaths in the 2018 to 2019 winter in commercial beekeeping. The bee population does decline every winter, but it usually is able to pick up in warmer months, and which isn't going to happen if we continue like this. The European honeybee that is pollinating conventional agricultural almond farms is hurting the ecosystems as it outcompetes native bees for forage and further damages the chances of survival for endangered bees that are already struggling to survive. I'm glad that I tried to do something oriented towards activism for my project, and I'm happy how it turned out. I even made an Instagram account where I show my process with a link to my chosen bee organization. I'd like to thank several people, including Dylan Chapowski, my senior project mentor, who gave me many resources that I used for inspiration, to Ali Reinold for actually making me carve so I could start this project. Without her motivation, I'd still be drinking coffee at her house and staring at all my art supplies. And I'd like to thank my mom, who took me again and again to Blix so I could make all of this happen. And finally, I'd like to thank my project because it helped me think of how I had to execute it. And I'm thankful that I could pour my stress of the past few months into it. Anyways, thank you. Back to Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Marina. And on behalf of everyone watching, congratulations. I'm seeing in the chat, everyone is amazed by your work, saying it's inspiring, it's incredible. So thank you for sharing that with us. Congratulations. We have a question here from Emily Riedlinger. How did you decide what designs to use for your prints?
Oh. Sorry about that. It was very whimsical. I chose what flowers I liked, and that's how I chose, basically. But I do have a fascination with snapdragons, and they're my favorite flowers. So that's one of the first prints I made.
There were a few questions also. Where can we buy your books, or is your artwork for sale?
Right now I'm traveling, so I can't make any more new prints, but they might at one point be for sale. So stay tuned to my Instagram.
Great. And just last question quickly. How long does it take to carve one of those linoleum blocks?
Ooh, I actually did, no, a block took about like an hour to 2 for me because I love carving so much, and I just listen to music, and some period later I just have the finished product.
Great. Well, Marina, thank you again for a lovely presentation and for all of the hard work that you put into this. Thank you, Marina. So next, I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Massimo Hamilton.
Hi, everybody. My name is Massimo, and for my senior project, I converted a van into a camper. So I really like fly fishing. It's my favorite thing to do. Many of my earliest memories have something to do with fishing, and I used to spend many days, pretty much all summer, fishing in the stream behind my house. I still do, actually, but as I got better at fishing and more into it, the stream began to feel a little bit small. And yeah, here's a picture. And so I started looking at maps and trying to find new places to go, exploring, discovering new things. And now that's a big part of the fun of fishing, is going to new places and just exploring and looking at maps. In the winter, I also like to ski. And like fishing, skiing is better if you can go places to do it. Just go wherever the snow is best, or just going to new mountains makes it more fun. So originally I came up with the idea for my senior project, or not the idea for, just the idea to do it, not necessarily for my senior project. Last winter, when I was thinking how with fishing, I can go anywhere and camp in a tent, and it's free and pretty easy. But with skiing, since it's in the winter, camping in a tent wouldn't really work, and I'd have to stay in a hotel or something. And so I was thinking if I like insulated a car or something, and had a sleeping bag, maybe I could stay in that and go skiing for longer periods of time. And then that idea kind of evolved, and I thought maybe if I had a bigger car like a van, I could put in a real bed, and it would be more comfortable. And so then I thought it was an original idea, so I looked it up to see if anybody else had done anything like that. And I found out like it was a kind of trendy thing actually, and there were tons of other people doing it and many YouTube videos. And so that kind of seeing all those cool designs and builds kind of inspired me to make my project or make this. Like it really made me really want to do it, and made me think I should do something more fancy than I had been imagining. And so then I thought that I had to do a senior project, and this was a big project I wanted to do, so I could do it for my senior project. And so that's how that happened. And so all spring I was kind of looking at stuff other people had done and thinking about it and making little sketches. And then in July, I decided I was actually going to do it. So I started looking for a van because that was the first thing I would have to do. And I thought it would take a few weeks to get a van, but it ended up taking until January, so about 7 months. And that was definitely the most difficult thing about the project, mostly because I know nothing about cars. And also I was looking for something pretty specific, but I didn't really know what I was looking for. Some points I was looking at older things, like cooler but kind of beat up that needed a lot of work, or bigger things like a Sprinter that I could stand up in. But in January, I ended up buying this van. It's a 2013 Ford Transit Connect on Craigslist, off of Craigslist from a guy in New Jersey. And I think it turned out to be a pretty good option. I think it gets much better gas mileage than anything else I was looking at. And it's easier to drive. I can fit in a regular size parking spot, even though it's smaller than I was envisioning in the beginning, but it's good. It doesn't need to be bigger. So all before January, like all fall and winter or beginning of winter, I was designing it, researching materials and stuff I would use. But since I didn't know exactly what van I would be getting, I made a whole bunch of different designs for all sorts of things. Yeah, and then those are some of my designs. So then the first step once I had the van was it came with these big metal shelves inside and other stuff like a floor mat and stuff. So I had to take all of that out, and that was pretty hard. That took like a month. Just like had to drill out the bolts because they were all stuck and the shelves are pretty heavy and hard to get out. So once that was out, I added sound deadening stuff. It's like a sticky rubber that I stuck to the metal of the van, just to keep vibrations down. The problem with that was that it had to be above 60 degrees to put it in, and I was working in February outside, so I had to wait till just a few warm days when it warmed up a little bit, and then park the van in the sun to be able to get that done. But other than that, that part was pretty easy. And then I insulated it with Roxol. I kind of stuffed the insulation into all the kind of cavities in the walls of the van. And we had that stuff. And we had the Roxol left over from some other project, so that was good. After I did that, I insulated the floor and the ceiling with foam board, which we also had around from something else. And that was pretty straightforward. Then I put in the cedar siding on the walls and the ceiling, which I got from Home Depot. I was going to use pallet boards, and I spent a while cutting up pallets that I got from Williams, like for free, and sanding them and stuff, but that was taking too long, and it was going to be hard to get enough good boards out of that. So I ended up just putting those pallets on the doors and buying the cedar to put on the ceiling and the walls, which was good in the end because the cedar is much lighter. I think the pallets would have been too heavy. After I did that, then I had to cut a hole in the ceiling of the van to put in a fan. And that was pretty intimidating, just because you're cutting a big hole in the ceiling, in the roof. But it turned out to be probably one of the most straightforward things that I did, and it worked out fine. Then I put in the cork floor. I put that on top of there's framing in the floor, and then in between the insulation, and I put the cork on top of that. And I got the cork on Craigslist. I actually bought it over the summer, I think, in August. So that was like the first thing I kind of did, but was buying it on Craigslist. And it just happened that the floor fit the size of the van pretty much perfectly, which was kind of luck. Then I built this bed and couch kind of thing it pulls out. I cut up an old futon frame that we had around and used that wood, and that worked good. It's kind of wobbly actually, but it sort of works. And then I made this kind of kitchen counter with shelves in it out of plywood that was also left over from something and we had around. And that was sort of hard just because the shape of the van, the whole thing was, especially on the walls, the shape of the van is so weird. There are all these little, like, no right angles. There are all these little holes and bumps and curves and stuff that makes it very hard to attach anything to it and keep it good. So that was tricky. And then I did other little things, like there's a shelf over the front. But that's pretty much what I've done, I think. And when I would work, it would take me like probably 5 times longer everything than I thought it would. Like I'd say like a wall, I thought it was going to take a morning to get it done, and then it would take me 2 days or something. But I think if I did it again, it would take me probably half as long as it took me, because most of it was just because I was figuring it out as I went along. I've never built anything before really, so I was kind of learning as I went and like recutting pieces of wood and kind of making it up as I went along, cutting out cardboard pieces as templates and stuff like that. So it's not finished. I still need to add like small finishing touches, like sanding stuff and oiling stuff, making curtains, putting little handles and that kind of stuff. And then bigger things, like I want to add solar power from solar panels on the roof, and I need to add a sink into that kitchen counter. And I want to add a heater, although I think I'm just going to wait until I know I'm going to use it in the winter before I do that. And then the other thing is it's pretty kind of generic still, I guess. And I want to add more of a personal aesthetic to it, but I think that will just kind of naturally come as I use it. And yeah, find stuff, make little decorations or whatever. I think, yeah, I'm hoping. So back before Thanksgiving, I made a whole timeline, and I was saying if I don't get the van by Thanksgiving, I'll do something else. But that didn't happen. And then same thing with Christmas. I said if I don't get it by Christmas, I'll do something else. But yeah, I'm glad I stuck with it in the end, and kind of just I had to adapt my timeline and what I was working on and my design and stuff, but I think it worked out good in the end. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to taking it on road trips, eating road food, going fishing, skiing, having fun in it. And yeah, I think it'll be good. That's about it. So I want to thank my family for all the support. My parents helped me a lot with either just holding stuff up, and so like an extra hand, or a little bit with bouncing designs off or whatever. And all the teachers who advised me through this project, and anybody else who lent me tools or whatever else. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Massimo. Thank you so much. And again, on behalf of everyone watching, congratulations. What an incredible thing you have created. People in the chat are saying it's super awesome and inspiring. It's impeccable. It's so cool. I know that both Venera Alabaster and Sophia Dabrowski wanted to know, are you in the van right now?
Yeah, I am. I am.
Great. And then we also had one of your classmates, Magda Garrity, and one of your classmates' parents, or no, one of your other classmates, they actually both asked at the same time, Goni Ronan, they asked, what's your first destination? I kind of am interested to know too, where do you plan to go?
I don't have any specific plans. Maybe somewhere out west than to the Rockies. They have good fishing out there, like Montana, maybe. Or maybe I kind of want to go to like Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, up that way. But yeah, I don't have any specific plans really.
All right, we have an alumni here, Savannah Shulkin, class of 2018, asking, did you design the bed frame? That was really impressive. Did you design the bed?
Well, yeah, I guess I did. It's a lot of people have done similar stuff, but I didn't exactly copy anything. So I pretty much designed it.
Great. Well, again, Massimo, thank you so much, and congratulations on all of your hard work.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have Majel Nugent.
Hello, everyone. My name is Majel. So in the beginning of the year, we had to think about what we were going to do for our senior project. And I honestly had no idea what I was going to do. I would talk about it with my mom a lot, my family, even friends, and I still didn't know what I was going to do. So I decided to kind of think back in my childhood to see if there was anything I enjoyed doing then that I could incorporate into my senior project. So I kept thinking and thinking, and then I finally came upon me growing up with lots of healthy food and composting, as well as gardening with my aunt. So I decided to incorporate that into my senior project. So I decided that I wanted to start a program to feed underserved populations. And by doing that, I first started to research programs that were like that around this area. And some of those programs were last minute market, food recovery program. And what those have in common is that at the end of the day, they will take their leftover foods and distribute it and donate to the people who need it, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So I decided to do more research, and so basically I want to do that more locally, basically what they do. And so I called up a few restaurants, such as Bagel Time, Abba's, Verdigris, and even Bread Alone in Rhinebeck. And they were very into that idea. They were excited. I told them what I was going to be doing. So after I planned on getting that food, I was going to create a community brunch for the Hudson City residents. And I had that plan already. Everyone was going to get together. It was going to be a nice time. And then the coronavirus hit, so I wasn't able to get everyone together safely. So I had to adjust my plan a little bit, and I decided to kind of bring my gardening and composting background into this. So I wanted to, I reached out to a place called Kite's Nest and the River City Gardens, and I asked if they needed volunteering or anything like that. And I also ended up getting a large donation of seeds. I think Dr. Frischkopf would show that. And yeah, hundreds of seeds, also veggie starters. And I asked if they wanted for me to donate that to them. And they said, yes, that would be great. We also do need volunteering. So I plan on volunteering with them. And then I also plan on starting a program within my apartment complex. And that would be basically composting. A lot of people here are from the city, so they don't really know too much about composting. I know some of them don't do that. They've never really done it. So I want to educate them on that. And there is a composting method that I've been researching a lot, and that is called the Akashi Composting. And basically what that is it's like a bucket, and you would put your food scraps on the bottom of the bucket, about 3 inches, and then you would put the bokashi product on and sprinkle it around. And that basically breaks it down a lot faster than other composting methods. And then you would put a seal on top to make sure all the moisture was kept in. And then you'd store it, and then you'd take it back out, every time you needed to use it. And for this method, you can actually put bones and meats in it, and it actually will break down everything. And there's no smell, which is really great, especially in an apartment, because we don't want to attract insects or anything. So I thought that would be really great to educate everyone on that. Yeah, and then, and also by doing that, I would give people compost buckets, so they wouldn't feel like they had to work on getting that and doing it themselves. I'd obviously help them and everything. So also this brought up a memory that I had with my mom, where we went to help out at a soup kitchen in Poughkeepsie called Lunchbox. And when we first got there, the people thought that we were there to, get supplies for ourselves, eat there. And we tried to tell them, like, no, we're volunteering there. We're trying to help. And they insisted. They were like, no, it's okay. You can take it, it's fine. And it kind of felt uncomfortable taking that from them, because, we obviously weren't there to do that. And so it got me thinking, like, it must be so hard for, people who need supplies and food every day to ask for that, every day pretty much. And, food is such like a basic right that, we shouldn't even have to ask for that. So yeah, I think that I'll enjoy when I'm able to do the plan that I envisioned first, serving people healthy food that will be growing in the gardens in Hudson, and possibly other places as well. I really look forward to serving people that good food. And yeah, I'd like to give a few thank yous as well. I'd like to thank all of my family. I'd like to thank my mom the biggest, because she has helped me so much throughout this, with all the phone calls we had to make. She's a lot better at talking than I am, so she helped me for sure. I'd like to, of course, thank the teachers and, everyone that's helped me. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you, JT.
Great, thank you, Majel. And on behalf of everyone watching, congratulations on a great presentation and for all of the hard work I know you put into your project, which I know also was a lot of conversation, engaging community members in conversation around this very important topic. I have a question here from Sasha DeCaro, who is a graduate from the class of 2019. She said, did going on the 11th grade volunteer trip to support homeless individuals in New York City also inspire the idea for your project?
Yes, it did. I meant to actually talk about that. Yeah, our junior year, we went on that trip, and it got me thinking, like, this is definitely something that I could incorporate into my senior project. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted to do. We also really got to know the people's backgrounds and had a great time, and that's exactly what I want. I want people to come, we can all talk, have a nice time. And so, yeah.
Great. There's also a question here from Austin Shulkin, and then also sort of Charlotte Hoppy's question, another graduate, although I don't know what year, Charlotte, you graduated, but a few years back. What are your future plans after high school? And would you like to do more of this sort of work in the future?
Yes, I would definitely like to continue this. My aunt, being like she's a landscaper, so she does a lot of gardening, and I actually plan on, volunteering at her place as well. She works at a place called Phantom in Rhinebeck, and yeah, so no, I'd love to keep doing this. I want to also keep volunteering with the time that I have at, places that need volunteering help. And yeah, so.
Great. Well, again, thank you so much, Majel, and congratulations. I see also in the comments, Zebi from Kite's Nest said, we're so excited to have you help out, and you're going to create so many garden beds for people in the area. That's such a lovely initiative. So congratulations on your work. So before we get to our next presenter and enter the final half of our presentation cycle, I want to invite everyone to let us know in the comments, how many people are you watching with? Are you watching with maybe 2 or 3 others? We can see, and it's sort of exciting to see, that there are at this moment 174 computers that are logged in and watching this live stream. But we're sort of interested to know how many people are in and viewing this. So let us know in the chat, if you can, how many people you're watching this live stream with. So we'll be very interested to see that in the comments. And to get us going for the second half of our presentation cycle, without further ado, I'll introduce Solomon Bergquist.
Greetings, mortals, macrologists, and miscreants of all ages. For my senior project, I set out to study the mythical creature known as the cockatrice and prove once and for all that it exists. Sorry about that. Actually, must confess that was my original idea, but it turns out it does not exist. However, this world of make-believe in which the cockatrice can exist, the idea of another world that you can create for yourself, it's one that has surrounded me from the youngest age, feeding into all of my thoughts. It's what gave me the passion for acting that began developing almost immediately. Even before I was in first grade, I had taken part in a production of Robin Hood, in which case I starred as the very important character known as Skunk Number 10. You can see a picture of me here. Now, the scenes that I were in, they comprised maybe about 2 minutes of the entire performance, but that 2 minutes seemed like the entire play to me. And it's what filled me with the passion that carried through for the rest of my life up until now. In third grade, I was performing in the character of Nick Bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream, a character that embodies overacting and perfectly fit my temperament at that time, my desire to seize that spotlight. As I grew older, I gradually learned how to maybe rein it back a bit. I learned how to support my fellow cast members and embrace smaller parts that could still help a performance succeed. As I grew even older, I began to turn more of a critical eye to my performances. And gradually, I began to be filled with this desire not just to participate, but to be the arranger of it all, the grand director of the plays that I was in. Perhaps it was because after watching fellow actors, I really, really wanted to comment on their performance and give them tips, and I didn't feel like I could unless I was the director. Or perhaps it was some other inner desire of mine. But I soon found myself really wanting to direct a play. And so when trying to decide what senior project to do, I soon settled on the idea that I would direct a production of Man of La Mancha. Why Man of La Mancha? Well, there are a few different reasons. First of all, it connects perfectly to my desire to enter the world of make-believe. The character of Don Quixote is one whose philosophies fit so nicely with my own. The idea that reality is malleable, that just because you see things a bit differently from everybody else, that it doesn't mean that you're wrong. And then when I saw a production of Man of La Mancha that a relative of mine put on a few years ago, I loved it. I completely fell in love with the musical as a whole. The music, the acting, the story, everything about it was fantastic. Immediately, I ran into troubles when trying to mount my own performance. It turns out putting on a musical isn't quite as easy as I expected it to be. From realizing that it was up to me to orchestrate all of the music that we were playing, to having to set up sets and find props, deal with last minute schedule changes, I soon entered one of the most stressful periods of my life. And above all, one of the hardest parts of it was learning how to actually lead, how to convince this group of peers, some of whom were older than me, to listen to me, to realize that I was the figure of authority and that they needed to pay attention to what I said. I couldn't be completely soft and lenient, but I couldn't be a tyrant either. I needed to learn how to balance both of our interests, how to mix together flexibility and stubbornness, and how to inspire them to really be the best actor that they could, to really take an interest in the performance. The relationships, although at times they were a bit fraught and stressful, oftentimes it produced some of the most amazing results. I remember one time, the first time that I heard my Don Quixote and Sancho Panza singing one of their songs together, harmonizing together. It could do nothing else but bring a smile to my face. It was fantastic. It was one of the most amazing experiences that I've had, seeing choreography that I'd previously only imagined in my mind, seeing it play out in front of me and actually work. It was thrilling. And the last performance that we had, watching from the side as all of my actors approached their parts with passion and enthusiasm, despite what Berenica's expression might communicate in that picture, it will always go down in my memory as one of the best experiences in my life. Throughout this entire process, I learned so many things. I learned how to work with a group, how to lead, how to orchestrate music, how naive I was to consider that doing a musical would be easy. But most of all, I learned that this is something that I can actually do. I can direct. And that if I just try hard enough, I can not only dream the impossible dream, but make it a reality. So there are so many people that I'd like to thank and who I couldn't have done this without. My mentor, Alex Harvey, who provided so many valuable insights and really helped me develop my, my visions. The school and teachers who supported me throughout and put up with me when I was a bit out of it due to being completely consumed with the play. My parents for constantly providing suggestions and realizations and helping me work out my problems and just being there for me to bounce ideas off of. The entire audience that went to see the performance. I mean, none of this would have worked without you guys, not at all. And really, most of all, I'd like to thank my absolutely wonderful and fantastic cast. Berenica, Odin, Goni, Emmett, Magda, Chris, Otto, Quinn, Zia, Alexander, and my two fantastic siblings, Sylvie and Theodore. Without you guys, I mean, it just wouldn't exist. Thank you so much for skipping your own lives, for missing dinners, for staying much, much later than I had originally told you guys you'd have to, for really just supporting me in every way, despite the fact that it wasn't even your project and you didn't have to. Just thank you so much for being a part of it. That's all I've got. Back to you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Solomon. And on behalf of everyone watching, congratulations on both your presentation and the hard work you put into the play. I was lucky enough to see this, as I know many community members did, and you have an impeccable sense of timing. This was the weekend directly before everything shut down, including the school. So I'm very lucky that the timing worked out for you to put on this play. Solomon, we have some questions from the audience. One of them, I think, played Sancho Panza in your production. One of your actors, Goni, asked, what are you planning to do with the money that you made from ticket sales?
That is a very good question. I'm planning to stick it in an envelope which will mysteriously disappear shortly after I appear to have faked my own death, and both me and the money will be out of here down to some South American country. Either that or you cast members need to offer me some suggestions, because this definitely isn't all my decision.
Great. Well, hopefully you won't disappear, but I do like that answer. And you can keep your video on, great. We have a question, actually a few questions. Is there a recording available, or will there be DVDs for purchase?
I'm currently putting together a recording. A couple people did film the last performance, and I'm currently working on stitching together the two various videos, which I will then probably put on YouTube. I am experiencing a bit of difficulty though, because of just how many gigs the videos take up and dealing with Wi-Fi and connection difficulties. So, yeah.
Great. Well, again, Solomon, thank you so much for your presentation. Our next presenter, I'll introduce, is Gwen Labate.
Hello, my name is Gwen. For my senior project, I wrote a cookbook of all my favorite recipes that I've collected from my friends and family and where I work. I started it just by cooking, just making all the different recipes that I wanted to and that I've gotten. And then I wrote the recipes down in my notebook, and then I wrote them online. Then I added the pictures that I got, and I had to figure out how to edit the pictures in with the page. And some of the recipes have little stories that go along with them, and some of them just have the pictures. And I had to figure out how to make the title page with all the pictures that I wanted to be on there, which was one of the most frustrating things I have ever figured out how to do. But once I got it all together and it looked just how I wanted it to, it was like all these little pieces of a puzzle that finally fit together. And I was so proud that I finally got it done. And one of my favorite recipes that's in the book is also, I think, one of the simplest ones. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4 cake. And I made it for my little brother Simon's 7th birthday for him. And I just kind of cut it in half and put some whipped cream and strawberries in the middle and decorated it, like there you can see on the picture. And when we go to my grandma's house, she lives in Virginia. When we go to Virginia, and we would get off the airplane and we'd get to her house, she would have a cake waiting for us. And it would always be a little bit burned because she didn't realize that you don't bake a cake on broil, which she was always wondering why is our cake burned? But it was always nice that she was thinking of us and preparing it for us, and she was always happy that we were coming. During this quarantine, my little brother Simon and I have been cooking a lot together, and we made this creamy Greek yogurt mac and cheese, and he grated all of the cheese for me. And he was getting kind of frustrated by the end of it because it was a lot of cheese. And I kept giving him more and more and more because I felt like the recipe needed some more cheese. And getting him to eat vegetables is a task sometimes. But he ate this and along with the spinach, and he even wanted more, which felt like a big accomplishment to me. I got an 8-year-old to eat some spinach. And before the quarantine, I work at the Copake General Store, and something I make a lot there is the turkey chili. And when I make it, you can just smell all of the spices through the whole store. And so I'm not a professional chef or anything, but I remember the first time that I made this, the customers were coming up to me and telling me how much they enjoyed it. And they're not related to me in any way. They're not going to see me probably again, but they were letting me know that I was doing a good job and they liked what I was doing and it tasted good. And it gave me a lot of confidence that I can do this and I can cook well. I started cooking pretty much with my mom in the kitchen, and I just started just by doing it. You just try and just keep going, and it doesn't always taste great. I definitely experimented with a lot of interesting recipes that didn't turn out so well. And I have a lot of recipes like this one that's in my book. It's a baked macaroni with beef, and it's a recipe from my great aunt. And it has listed all of the ingredients. And then at the end, it just said, bake until it's done. So I didn't know what done was for that because I'd never made it myself. So I had to figure out, now, how long does it have to go and at what heat? And I tried it many different times and it didn't turn out so great each time. But then I figured it out and I wrote it up, and it's in my book that I made. And I made it so that I want anyone to be able to follow the instructions. I don't want my book to be something like this just for my family. So you have to know how long it needs to be done. Because my family, a lot of them know the recipes all by heart, but not everyone does. And I want my book to be able, so anyone can just pick it up and just try their best. And it doesn't have to look like what the pictures look like that I took of what I made. But as long as you're trying, and if it doesn't work out the first time, then you just try again. I'm gonna try and print it sometime soon. Right now it's a PDF file. If anyone would like it, a copy of it, just contact me and I will be happy to share it with you. And also I have an Instagram page called Gwenny Pie's Kitchen that I've been posting pictures of stuff that I have cooked and baked over the years, and I'm going to continue to do that with whatever I'm making at the time. And you should follow me and then you can see what I'm making. And if you'd like the recipes, then just ask me and I will be happy to talk to you about them and give you the recipes. I would like to thank my family, especially my little brother, for always being my biggest fan. He's always telling me how good of a job I'm doing, and he's always trying everything that I make. And my mom as well, she has had to try all of my weird recipes I've tried over the years, and there's gonna be many more to come, I'm sure. But yeah, and I'd like to thank all of the teachers at Hawthorne Valley. They have supported me for a very long time, and they have tried some of the recipes that I've made. I'll bring them into school to share with everyone. And they're always very supportive about them. And it's really nice to get the feedback. Yeah, back to you, JT.
Thank you, Gwen. And on behalf of everyone watching, which at our current count is over 200 unique views, although our resident mathematician, Mr. Mady, says it's estimated to be around 500 people. On behalf of all of those watching, Gwen, thank you so much for your presentation and for the incredible work that you've put in the kitchen. I've had the pleasure of tasting your unique baking creations, and they're pretty fantastic. I also have a PDF copy of the cookbook, and we're hoping to make that available on our senior project website, which will be up after our 2-night event presentations. So again, Gwen, thank you so much for your presentation. We've got some questions from the chat. Sarah Perilli, one of our art teachers, asked, what was a surprising cooking or baking technique or a skill that you learned that you didn't know to do beforehand?
I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit, and I can get back to you on that.
A fair response. One of our former alumni, graduate of the class of, 2017, I think, Carly Disbro, asked, what type of stories did you add to your cookbook?
Well, there's one about, there's the first recipe in my cookbook is a shredded apple and almond butter. And when I was younger, my mom used to make that for me. It was like my favorite snack. I loved it. It's the best thing. And I still really like it. I like eating it now. Yeah, and it's just this story just about that. And there's some of the recipes have just little stories like that that go along with them.
Great, thanks, Gwen. One last quick question. What was your favorite recipe?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a favorite recipe. They're all my favorites. I couldn't pick just one.
Fair enough. Thank you, Gwen, so much, and congratulations again. So next up, we have Chloe Trachtenberg.
Can you see me?
We can.
Oh, okay. I can't see myself, which is a little strange. But hi, everybody. My name's Chloe Trachtenberg. And ever since I was little, I have always loved clothes. I used to sneak into my mom's closet, and I wouldn't always put on her clothes the correct way, but I was always creating new, innovative ways to create different styles and clothing, like the scarves. Another memory is when I was in kindergarten, And I started to realize that I could express myself through color, which led me to buy a bright green Little Mermaid bathing suit. And boy, I wanted to wear that to school. So one day, I asked my friends in my class, bring your bathing suits to school, and right before nap time, we're gonna have a dance party. So the next day, I bring my Little Mermaid bathing suit to school, and I asked them, did you bring your bathing suits? And they all nodded and grinned. And so nap time was about to begin, and we rushed to the bathroom and we put our bathing suits on and we ran back and we just started dancing like crazy while all the other kids were starting to get ready for naps. And all of a sudden, I was in the hallway talking to my teacher. Fast forwarding to now, I plan to go into fashion design school. My goal is to help create a change within the fashion industry in a direction towards becoming more sustainable. The fashion industry is the second largest polluter on this planet. One example is large-scale commercial dye factories using synthetic dyes. These factories have the demand to produce clothing at an incredible fast pace, and most of the time the safety protocols are lost and many chemicals get mixed into the dyes, like lead, mercury, and chromium. These factories are usually located on rivers, and the chemicals spill into the water and cause pollution and are very hazardous to the environment, animals, and humans. So, my original senior project was creating a secondhand fashion line. The reason why it's secondhand is because I went to different thrift stores like Goodwill and Salvation Army. The reason why I wanted it to be secondhand clothes is in the US alone, 21 billion pounds of textile waste is sent to landfills, and about 10 to 15% make it to secondhand stores. I also decided in this collection that I was going to use Procyon dyes, which is a chemical dye, but if used at a smaller scale can be safe. Since the industry is using synthetic dyes and Procyon dyes, I wanted to have an understanding of the standard and the reasons why behind that, especially because it's connected to durability of the clothing and the color. My fashion line process, mentor Allie and I would usually go to Chili's fast food. We'd walk in the door and we'd say, hi, welcome to Chili's. If I wasn't eating food, I was pattern making, sewing, and seam ripping a lot. My fashion line consisted of 7 garments in total. 2 completely transformed from pants to a top, and the other a pair of pants to a skirt and a shirt. The culmination of my project was interrupted by the coronavirus, and I could no longer work with my mentor. That time was the most important because most of my dyeing was going to take place, and I ended up having to redirect into a different field around natural dyes. But that was okay with me because I was already thinking about that and thinking about different possibilities while the issues around the coronavirus were happening. So I decided to create a little video for you guys to watch so you could see my whole process of creating my secondhand line. To dock with the video. Oh, Doc, that's not the video.
Okay, give me 1 minute and I will find that video.
Okay. Well, since the video is not being shown, I will talk about my natural, oh, it's being shown. Okay, great. Yeah, so that was the video. Thank you for being here, and I know there's been a few bumps with this presentation, but to continue on, I decided to switch gears to natural dyes. One of the first things that stuck out to me around natural dyes is that they are biodegradable and have minimal impact on the environment. So ding, that was a big check mark for me. The first thing you need to do when using natural dyes is getting your ingredients. This was the most exciting part, is because almost everything you see in nature and in your kitchen, in your house, you could use for dyes. Some examples is bark on trees, daffodils, cabbage, spices like turmeric. There are so many possibilities, and that's what really made me so excited. So I sat down and I created a list of all the different things that I wanted to use. After I had decided on my ingredients, I chose my fabrics. I used 2 natural fibers, silk and cotton, because I wanted to see if there was any difference in how the dye took to each. The next step in the process is to scour your fabric in a stainless steel pot with water and a pH neutral soap and let simmer for an hour. Doc, there's some pictures that should be on the screen. If sorry. This process gets any dirt and starch out of the fabric so so the dye can penetrate better. This is also where you have the option to use a mordant. A mordant is in Latin means to bite, which creates a chemical bond between your dye and fiber and helps the color last longer on the clothing. In the picture you're seeing, the beet one, if you find it, Doc, it has 3 bowls. Well, anyways, there was 3 bowls. That's the scouring process there that you're seeing now. And this is the 3 bowls that have the different beets in them. And this experiment, I was using 3 different assistants: baking soda, vinegar, and lemon, which changes the pH of the dye and the vibrancy of the color. The next pick is the cabbage. Well, these are the different colors that I found, which was really fun. The next thing is the cabbage, and this was one of my absolute favorite dyes to do because of the vibrant purple. But I learned that using the purple cabbage, if you add baking soda, which is a basic assistant, opposed to using an acidic assistant like vinegar and lemon, there is something magical that happens and it turns blue. And all of a sudden I felt transported into a book like Harry Potter and working with potions. And I just was so in awe, and it eventually turned green once dried. I also created an Instagram account, which hopefully, because my presentation has been a little bit rocky, you can check out, and it has my whole process, how the ingredients I used, the different dyes that I created, and some of my discoveries, which I had so much fun creating and using these natural dyes. And I hope that you become inspired as well to try them out, because they are all around your house. I wanted to overall say that this senior project has been super, I felt like I've learned a lot about myself, thinking about my childhood and growing up, and how I used to think fashion and clothing was just fun. And now kind of coming into my own and realizing, what am I going to do for my future? That there are some issues in the fashion industry, and that just having this appreciation of going through this process and learning, I hope that these skills that I have learned will help in my future. I want to thank my mentor, Allie Reinhold, because she was an incredible mentor. And if I had flowers right now, I would hand them through the screen to her. And I want to thank her parents because I was over at their house a lot. And then my mom and my dad for being so supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. Thank you so much. And you mentioned that your presentation was rocky. I'll just say maybe the technology was rocky, but your presentation was fantastic. So congratulations on both your presentation and all of the work that you've done. I know you put so much time and so much thought into this project. So congratulations. We've got a few questions from the chat. From Nikata Pika. There's a question, does naturally dyed fabric change color over time? And is that a challenge?
Yeah, so it depends, because if you're using a mordant, it creates a bond that you're able to have color that lasts longer. But I personally, with my dyes, I haven't waited a long enough time to see if they fade. But usually in natural dyeing, they fade over time. If that helps at all.
Yeah, of course. We also have a former student, an alumni class of 2017, Serena Hoffman, asking, what's your favorite natural dye to use?
Yeah, so my favorite dye was the butterfly pea flower dyes. And if you go to my Instagram, most of it has a lot of purple because I seem to be really into purple right now. And I actually dyed this with the purple butterfly pea flowers. And they create a beautiful blue dye at first, and then it sort of fades into a bluish purple color. And I just love that. So thank you.
Great. Well, again, Chloe, thank you so much. And congratulations. You have much to be proud of. And I'll throw your Instagram into the chat on YouTube. We've come now to our final presentation of the evening. And this is something that, as far as I can tell, has never been done at Hawthorne Valley before. And yet you'll get to see something like this both tonight and tomorrow night. We have a collaborative senior project where two students worked on one project and took on different components of that project. So you'll see me in between the presentations just to introduce the second student, but their presentations are meant to be sort of viewed together. And so I'll first welcome Emmett Nelson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. My name is Emmett Nelson, and as you may or may not know, for my senior project, I programmed a video game with the help of my friend Sam doing the artwork. Ever since January, I've been slowly chipping away at this project bit by bit, and now, finally, after thousands of lines of code, it is finally over, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. But before I do that, I would like to tell you why I chose game development as my senior project. The main reason was that it's a combination of two interests I've always had. One, creating games, and two, computer programming. Ever since I was a small child, I've always loved creating games. When I was little, at my birthday parties, I designed elaborate games for everyone to play, and that earned me the reputation of having the best birthday parties as a kid. And computer programming, I really started to take off with computer programming in 11th grade during the Python programming electives. And as soon as I started learning all the things in it, it opened up so many possibilities of what I could do with code. So when I was thinking about what I would do for my senior project, I considered both of these interests. I thought of ideas like maybe programming a chess engine or something like making an original board game. But what better to do than to combine these two ideas into creating a video game? And the best part about that idea is that I didn't even have to do all the work. I happen to have this good friend, Sam, who we'll be talking later, who is extremely talented at pixel art, much better than I could do. So, and he enjoys video games just as much as I do. So we decided to have a collaboration. So before we could start working on it, we have to figure out what we were going to do with this game. We decided to make a platformer game, which is a game where the character jumps and fights enemies, as opposed to a role-playing game, because a role-playing game would be much more difficult to make. Now that we had that settled, we had to decide what the game would be about. And we started thinking of ideas, and what we eventually settled on is that it would be a game where you explore through the levels, but there is a dichotomy in the game between the light overworld levels that you could easily access and the dark secret dungeon levels that you had to find within all of the different levels. And we discussed many ideas around that. We even discussed adding a boss named the Jester, which unfortunately I never got to add. But we had an idea in place, and I was feeling excited about what I could do with this. So before I could start, I needed the right software to be able to program the game. After a bit of research, I found that the best thing I could use is this software called Unity for game development. However, there was one small problem with this. The problem was that Unity requires the use of a programming language called C#. I did not know any C#. I only knew Python. So I guess it was time for me to learn a new programming language. And it was kind of annoying learning it. There's a lot of annoying differences between Python and C#. For example, you always have to type in true or false a lot in your code, depending on what you're making. However, in Python, you have to capitalize the T in true, but in C#, you don't capitalize it. This led me to a bunch of errors, and it's so annoying, especially having that I use both of these languages often. Another annoying thing about C# is that I had to put semicolons at the end of every single line when I coded. This was so obnoxious, and the semicolons are starting to haunt me in my dreams. So now I had all the plans together. I was starting to learn how this stuff actually worked, but right now, all I had was an idea. How do I turn an idea into this? Where do you even start with a video game? What do you add first? Well, the thing with coding a video game, no matter what, for everything you want to add, there's usually going to be something that you have to add before it. For example, if you have to add an enemy, first, before you add any enemies, you need to make a script that controls and monitors the health of the enemies. Before you add any items, you have to make a system that controls the item. And before you add anything at all, you need to add the player. Because without the player, do you even have a game? What are you going to do without a player? Without a player, it's not a game, it's just a show. I don't want to make a show. I want to make a video game. And a video game I did make. So first, I added the player and the camera to follow him around. His name's Magnus, by the way. Then I added the ground you see below me. Then I started to add items. I started to add an inventory to hold those items. I added a health bar, a stamina bar, and I added the enemies so he would have someone to fight. And then I started programming code to make sure all the levels you could access. And I had to program what happened when the character fell out of the world and died. He has to lose all his items and be teleported back to the town, where he can go to the store and buy some items, or he can go to the bank to turn in some coins. Unfortunately, he does not have any coins right now. Every single thing I added in this game was a different challenge, a different puzzle to see how I could add it into the game. Every little detail, every little thing, even down to something as simple as the pause button. Sounds pretty tricky, right? Wait, I'm trying to get back to this. Okay. Sounds pretty tricky, right? Well, you can really get into the rhythm of it once you start actually getting into it. Programming thing after thing. It's actually pretty fun, except for one thing. The game developer's worst nightmare, bugs. In case you don't know what a bug is, it is when you try to implement something into your game, but it does something else instead. Like when you try to make your character jump, but instead of jumping, the character floats into the sky. Well, and throughout the process of programming this game, I encountered hundreds of bugs that I had to deal with. It was by far the worst part of doing the project and the biggest challenge. But there was one bug that was worse than any other bug that I came across in this project. When I was making another level, I decided that it would be a good idea to mess with the background code that deals with the ground and how I made and constructed the levels. This was a horrible idea because as soon as I entered another level, to my surprise, the entire ground turned pink. I had no idea what was going on, and unfortunately, I had to redo 3 entire levels because of this horrible mistake. But I dealt with it along with every single other bug in this project. And now I'm at a point where I can say that this game is actually pretty good. It's basically finished. Everything I need to have a good video game is in that game. And then the game was done. Now, and I learned a lot of things from doing this project. First of all, I needed to be more organized with projects like this. I was definitely not organized at all with this project. For example, Mr. Mady will be disappointed to hear this, but I did not add a single comment. I don't think I added a single comment to any of the code in my game. And the consequence of this is that when I tried to go back into this code and edit it to try to fix it or update it, I had no idea what was going on in the code because I hadn't written anything that details what the code actually does. So I had to spend like 10-15 minutes trying to figure it out. And then I could go and edit the code. And that cost me a lot of time in this project. The second thing, and the most significant thing I learned though, is that, and this applies to anything in your life, that if you make a mistake and you have no idea what's going on and you think what's going on is ridiculous, like anytime I face a bug, it's usually because of a reason. And if you're clever enough, you can usually find the reason why that's happened. And instead of sitting there in shock, go and actually deal with what is happening and figure out what is happening. From that, I learned instead of proclaiming what, instead sit back and ask why. Now, Before I end this off, I would like to give a shout out to me and Sam's mentor, Mark Rontry. And then I would also like to give a shout out to Mr. Mady, who always was checking in to make sure I was staying organized, even if I forgot to stay organized, and was already always motivating me in this project. So thanks for watching. I'm going to hand it back to Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Emmett, and congratulations on a great presentation. For the second part of this collaborative project, let's hear from Sam Boswell. And Sam, you'll have to unmute yourself there.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Sam Boswell. I've been in Hawthorne Valley for 4 years. What I thought when I was thinking, well, no, let me start this in a correct way. What really influenced me to actually do this was when I was 6. And when I was 6 years old, I lived in Connecticut, and my uncle would do a lot of tattoos, and I would watch him, and I would be like, I wonder what it would feel like if I did my own, art. So I was like, okay. I went in my room one day, and I was like, I was, doing my own thing, sketching it, drawing all this stuff, And in the meanwhile, that process, I was watching a lot of anime, cartoons, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, you name it, I was all on it. I was doing that, just getting as much as I can out of that. But when middle school hit, all those past experiences came, and I was like, I'm going to start a comic book. And when I started a comic book, a lot of my friends over in middle school was like, oh my gosh, what would I look like in your eyes of a character? And I was like, let me draw it out. I drew it out, and it was super cool about it. And it was like, oh, you should do this and that. But then after that, I took a break, and because I guess I didn't see myself as like a big artist, like a big, top-notch artist at that time. So I was like, I'm just gonna take a break. But then when it came to Hawthorne Valley though, and I seen all the unique styles of art where they did blacksmithing, oil painting, which I never did when I was in school, stone carving, which is really, I never heard of that ever. All that stuff kind of just brought me back into my level of an artist, and I was like, you know what, I'm about to shoot this again. I'm about to go ahead and try it. And so I tried it, but in the middle of that, I was like, I want to do something a little more different. So I decided to do a video game, but I was doing it myself at this time. But then I was trying to do it all by myself. I had to create the sprites. I had to do the animations for them, and I had to code. I had no experience in coding. I had to do everything raw. But then I was like, I wonder if I could get some help. So this is how I met Emmett. Me and Emmett were in the same programming class, and we decided to collab and make a video game. And that's how, we came to this right here, this exact moment, the video game actually being a thing. There was a lot of early developments. There was a lot of, I guess you could say, original ideas for the characters, like the main character or the villain Jester. If you could show the pics, that would be really helpful for the people to see and get an idea. That was, it was junior year where I decided to really put it as like a thing. But the pics were really out, if it would, so they could see it. I would really help right now if you have the pictures. My roles in this, well, my role was to come up with the ideas and illustrate them, and just come up with any ideas that just fall at the top of my head. Just if you want to make a sword, I'll have to just go and draw it out and make a sword, and do my thing. But the funny thing is, I never touched at all. Never touched anything digitally. I never did Photoshop in my life, which is the program that I used to make this game. I never used Photoshop ever. So when I did this, I was completely nervous because I didn't know what to do. But then this is where my mentor came in, Mark Roundtree, which he guided me every step, and also Brandon. I don't know his last name, but Brandon. He also helped me with this project as well. And he also helped me of how to start it off. And it was kind of difficult because I didn't feel like always putting my time into that. I also wanted to do a bunch of my own stuff at the time. And so when I did, it would always be like an hour's worth. But in the end of it all, it was still fun. Some of the stuff that I am proud of though would be for sure the main character sprite animation, which is just 3 frames, I think, of just him walking. That was the biggest, the most greatest moment. And I put that as my most proud of on the top of my list. But the not so proud of would be probably the spike ball. If you guys didn't see it in Emmett's demo, there's a little rolling thing that's in the ground. That's probably like the least thing that I'm, not so excited about. But the most challenging part of this was probably the backgrounds. The backgrounds were really hard to do because I had to countless hours, just 48 hours on one background would take that long for me. But even when I didn't see my art as, so cool, or this wasn't my full potential, it was still in other people's eyes, like I said before, so great. And so I would take that and I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna keep on going. Also, when I did see my art in action, when I seen just my animation, just the person that I made out of a piece of paper come to life and you could actually control them, was super crazy because I never thought that it would actually happen. So when I seen that, I was in awe. I never thought it would actually came to life. And then along the lines of me just going through this process, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just face it. I'm a good artist. In my own eyes, I know I'm a good artist. So I'm just gonna flow with it. I'm gonna be like, this is what it is. I know I'm good at what I do. So I'm gonna just be with it. And so that's what I did. But even when I didn't think that it wouldn't turn out this well, I was just sitting there and I was like, you know what, it is good. It's good. And when I realized it, I was just like, it's a good game. And so when I said that to myself, that's when I accepted it as, my greatest piece of art ever. This is my greatest piece of art. And also Emmett's, because without him, I really wouldn't be doing this right now. So I appreciate Emmett most of all. Some shout outs though would be definitely Mark Roundtree, my mentor, also Brandon, like I mentioned before, but I don't know his last name, and also Mr. Mady, because without Mr. Mady, I'm pretty sure that me and Emmett probably wouldn't really collab this way. If we were in the same programming class, I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't really be this connection that me and Emmett have right now if it wasn't for him. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you. And I'll be giving it back to Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emmett and Sam. On behalf of everyone who's watching, congratulations on both your presentation and on the incredible work that you both have achieved. I know firsthand how much both of you put into this, how many hours, countless hours that both of you spent doing this work. It is something really to be proud of. So congratulations. There are some questions in the chat, so I'll invite you both to turn your videos back on, and you can both keep your videos on. I want to ask the first question, which is coming from Nina Aladort. She's asking, what is the game called, and can we get it? Can we play it?
Well, we never thought of an official name. In the file I exported it on, I called it The Tale of Magnus because the main character's name is Magnus. You can't get it right now. That's something I'm trying to work on. Sam was having a little bit of technical issues when I tried to send him it. And the process to make sending it user-friendly is quite tedious. But if you know how to unzip computer files, you can ask me to send you a copy. But don't ask until like a few days from now, because there's a few things I need to take care of first.
I think that's totally fair, and you all deserve a few days break from the hard work you've put into this. But if there is a way for us to make it available, maybe we can even put it for download on the website. I've got a question for Sam. Are there any are there any video games from that you use sort of as inspiration for your art? Did we might have lost Sam. Well, Emmett, let me ask you the same question. Are there any video games that you sort of were inspired by for some of the coding, some of the animation, some of the features that you had in the game?
That is a tough one. There's probably a bunch of games which I've pulled from for ideas, but it's hard to nail down which ones. I know that inventory slots, the inventory system I got from Minecraft. I think I got something from Terraria, something inspired from that. I forget what, but I probably pulled from a bunch of different games that I enjoy playing.
Great, and I hopefully Sam can rejoin, but if not, let me ask you another question just quickly, Emmett. What is the next thing you would do? Sort of if you had another few weeks, what would be the next thing that you would add to your game?
I would add a few more enemies. I was also hoping to add bows and arrows and ninja stars that the character could throw at enemies as well. That would probably be the next things I started to add.
Great, well, thank you. And I will speak on behalf of Sam, your partner in this, who really created, I think, over 80 images, unique images for this, both characters, landscapes, inventory. Oh, fantastic, he's back. This is the magic of the internet. Welcome back, Sam. Sam, we've got a question for you. I asked Emmett a similar question, but the question is, what are some of your inspirations, like video games, that inspired you in terms of the artwork that you yourself created?
Some video games that I'm really inspired by would be, I guess, classics like Mario or Final Fantasy. If you guys don't know what that is, a lot of my art is really based on a lot of Final Fantasy. Also, shout out to Mark for showing me Final Fantasy 6. I'm super, it was crazy when I first found out of that game. He showed me and I was super like into it. And so me and him would talk about it a lot and be like, you should pick out stuff from this and that. But yeah, no, Final Fantasy was one of them. Also, what else? Just a lot of RPG games. I don't really know. Just a lot of platforming games as well. Just Mario basically and Final Fantasy is really the biggest inspiration for me.
Great, thank you so much. And Sam, just to let you know, it actually looks kind of cool, but you're pictured sideways. So I don't know if you can turn your device so we can see you. One of those fun aspects of Zoom, you never know what your orientation will be until you see it. But gentlemen, I want to congratulate you both on a fantastic senior project and a great round of presentations. Thank you so much for this collaborative effort. And again, congratulations, Emmett and Sam, on your hard work this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, community members, random people who have joined our YouTube stream, you maybe got a recommendation and it brought you here and you were a little confused, or if you sort of, are part of our community and you brought the link here. Thank you so much to all of you who joined in to celebrate the work of these very fine students. I'll just remind you that tomorrow evening, starting fingers crossed at 7 p.m., we will do our second round of presentations. We have 10 more students who have done equally fantastic senior projects, which they are eager to share with you. And we are so grateful that you showed up in large numbers. By our estimates, we had approximately 500 people watching at any given time. This is incredible. More people than could even fit into the hall in our school. So thank you so much for showing up for these students and honoring the hard work that they've put into it. So we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, and let's invite all of the seniors now to turn on their cameras and wave good night to you. So Doc, if we can go into gallery mode. So you'll see there our seniors waving good night. Thank you all. And on behalf of Hawthorne Valley, thank you for joining us for this first round of senior project presentations. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Good night.